is on the presidential debate. I just want to clarify by saying this is about the second presidential debate, not the first. And I'm going to assume that most people here roughly know about what happened in the second presidential debate. Either they saw clips of it or they saw it live. Um, and if not, I'll go over it a bit. But for most of it, I'm just going to assume everyone has some knowledge of what happens. Um, so there's originally going to be three debates. There was the first debate on October 22nd, 2020, which was not so great. If you might have remembered that a lot of the times both Joe Biden and Donald Trump would talk over each other, and it kind of became like a running joke, and a lot of people made fun of it on the internet. And then there was the first and only vice presidential debate on on October 7th between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. This debate was much more civilized than the presidential debate. Um, so the second presidential debate was originally supposed to take place on October 15th, 2020. It was supposed to be a virtual debate, unlike the first two debates. This happened because of COVID-19 concerns, primarily Donald Trump contracting COVID-19, but Trump decided to opt out of the debate because, from what I've heard, he was kind of like he had problems because he thought that they were going to mute him when he was trying to talk and stuff, which is kind of ironic because in the real life debate, which later happened, they were also allowed to mute and cut off people's mics, whatever. But Trump told Fox Business on October 8th that he wasn't going to waste his time on a virtual debate, and it was later rescheduled to October 22nd. It was going to be in person and not virtual. So again, something that made headlines a few days before the debate was the fact that the moderator of the debate would be able to cut people's mics whenever they wanted. So if someone was talking too much or over each other, the moderator could just cut that person's mic. So the three people involved in the debate was the Democratic candidate Joe Biden, the Republican president Donald J. Trump, and the White House correspondent for NBC News, and the moderator for the debate was Kristen Welker. So the major topics of the debate, which were the questions that the moderator asked, was on 6 different topics: fighting COVID-19, American families, race in America, climate change, national security, and leadership. I'm just going to play a clip of the debate. First of all, I just want to say that I was trying to find both a left-wing series of clips, like a montage, and a right-wing series of montage. They're both kind of the same, so I just decided to I'm just going to air the one from the Sun, even though I have both one from the New York Times and the Sun up here.
As we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
Is it not? Oh, yeah.
You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks. Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are 2 companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which company?
This is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last year. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter.
Mike?
And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
People were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid.
His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States.
Your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay, let's let Vice President Biden respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden
a very
responds.
confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them.
But the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you
But let
reunite
me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their families,
Let me just tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. They real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
They,
who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy has a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success, but I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me, and I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, What is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last.
Um, so that was the Suds kind of compilation of the presidential debate highlights. I'm just going to air the one from the Sun, even though that's more of a right wing news source. I found that they're both kind of pretty much the same from the left leading publication, their highlights, and right leading publications highlights. I felt like they're pretty similar, and there's no need to show both. Um, so I have two articles, one from left-wing publication, CNN Opinion, and one from the right wing, which is Fox Opinion. Um, so I want to start with the CNN one. And the interesting thing about the CNN article was it was kind of like a compilation of multiple contributors to CNN Opinion, and it was like they had a 3 paragraph response, and there was like 10 of them. So I just picked out a random one, and the one I picked out was one by a man called John Sutter, contributor for CNN Opinions, and is an environmental activist. And this is very present in his write-up. He says, um, Biden may not be a rock star environmentalist, but he takes the climate crisis seriously and has an actual plan to reduce U.S. fossil fuel pollution. Trump supports fossil fuels. He denies the essential and well-established realities of climate science. His record on the environment is abhorrent. He can talk about beautiful water and sparkly air, all he damn well plays, but it doesn't change things. This election will matter to your great, 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 great grandchildren because it is an election about the climate emergency. And the chasm between the candidates could not be wider. So, John Sutter is clearly pro Biden. That's his stance on this, and anti Trump. Now, for the Fox opinion one, Doug, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I do not know how to say that at all. But from Fox opinion, he states that Trump won the debate, and at the end he says in the article that Biden's flat denial of any wrongdoings or inappropriate behavior preventing Trump from compellingly linking Joe Biden to Hunter's activities in a way that could help Trump politically. Ultimately, in my view, Trump's performance was by all measures stronger than Biden's, and demonstrated. Sorry, this is away. Voters that the president is still in the race. So I'm just going to do some questions really quickly. The first one is I put a straw poll. Don't use this link because this link doesn't go up to anywhere. But in the chat, there is a link to a straw poll, and I just want everyone to answer this. And it's only on who won the debate. It doesn't have to do with who you like more or less. It's just who you personally thought won the debate. So I'm just going to give everyone like a minute or two to do that. I'm also going to add if you don't think either one, you could just put undecided. If you don't think like either candidate was better or worse, or you think that they're both terrible, you can just put undecided. I posted it again in case anyone couldn't find it. Okay, so the results for this was out of 10 votes, it was 6 for Biden, 3 for undecided, and 1 for Trump. So who won the debate? Like, who do you personally think won the debate?
That's for me.
No, I'm just asking you this question. Everyone wants to chip in.
Oh, hi. Um, I think Biden definitely won the debate, but Trump did like pretty well
Someone's
compared to
talking,
his.
but I can't hear them.
Oh, Dina's
Oh,
talking?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
You have to turn your speaker on, because I can't have my speaker and yours.
Oh,
Dina, can you tell her to start again?
Oh, okay. So I was saying, I think Biden won the debate because he was talking about unity, hope, strength, and these kinds of stuff. But Trump definitely did better than
Dina's still talking.
like he used to compared to his interviews and you know the last debate. He didn't like deflect any questions.
I feel like the bar's pretty low that we're being impressed by the
Yeah,
president not yelling or lying, and at least to the extent that he normally does.
yeah, like he could talk in complete sentences. So
do we have anyone else who wants to go, or should I move to the next question? Trump in the debate said he's the least racist president ever, except for maybe Lincoln. Do you agree with his claim?
His claim is a lie. He is on numerous accounts recorded in front of a camera saying very racist things. Oh my God, I read that wrong. Sorry, you cut out and I heard Trump said that he wasn't racist. No, wait. Why am I having like the biggest brain fart? No, Trump is very much a racist. I don't know about Lincoln.
Does anybody else want to put in their 2 cents here, or should I move on? Just give.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think the thing is that most people I've seen that are voting, like claiming they voting for Biden, say it's about climate change, and most people that are voting for Trump are arguing about pro-choice and pro-life.
Can someone just say something as a test?
Sure. Is that good enough, or should I continue?
Sorry, can someone else try to talk again?
Hello. I think your mic is broken, or you're hearing.
It's not broken. It's just we're having problems here.
I see.
Yeah.
But you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Everyone can hear you.
Oh, that's
Uh, the problem with this, sir, is that to respond, they're going to have to speak much louder. So I don't know if you want to say something here, and if anyone here wants to see if they could hear you or something. Okay. Okay. Next question, I guess. Did your views on either Biden or Trump change after you saw this debate, and in what way? So it could be either negative or positive.
Than I could previously imagine.
I mean, yeah. They both. I mean, I think the big difference between this debate and the last debate was they could actually talk for once, something that they didn't have as much of a chance to do in the first debate. At least, like, talk freely and have, like, their full thoughts out. But I think with that, you really start to notice how, like, what they're talking about, like, how stupid some things are. So in the past debate, like, you couldn't hear these stupid things because they keep on cutting each other out. But now they're just saying it out loud and everyone could hear it. Like, I'm the least racist person in the room thing when the moderator is literally black. Like, clearly, there's many reasons for why that is 100% false. How he cannot, like, literally be the least racist person in the room. But yeah, I think I have one more question. Do you agree with the moderator's ability to cut off the mics, and do you think she did it enough?
I think if she did it more than that, probably the situation would kind of get aggressive like the last one. And with Trump, whenever he doesn't agree with the moderator or the interviewer, he just leaves and doesn't answer the question. So I think it would have not been a good situation if she did it like every time someone didn't stop talking.
I think there was a lot of problems with just, I don't know, I'm not sure if she did it enough or if she did it too much. I didn't notice it too often, but that might have just been me. I don't know if anyone else noticed her cutting off the mic very often. And I think, oh no, there's one more question. Do you think that the candidates performed better or worse on the second debate when compared to the first one?
Definitely better because they talked this time. Last time they just, spoke over each other and yelled and
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, like, do you think like the content that they said was any better when they could speak? Okay, I think nobody else is going to go. I just want to say, if anybody wants to like add anything else that they personally saw as being interesting in the debate, any highlights or something that they just want to bring up. I believe there was a point where Trump said that raising the minimum wage wouldn't help anything, which is clearly wrong. Raising the minimum wage would do a lot because it's raising the minimum wage, and that goes without saying that that can help a lot of people. But I don't know if anyone else like they had moments in the debate where they noticed something that was really off or whatever they want to mention. Yeah, but then again, I was talking more about the second debate, but that does work as well. Yeah, but I still don't know exactly what he was trying to get at in that Hard Boy Stand By thing. It felt very yeah, and I don't know if it's not that uninformed is the good word, maybe ignorant, but like purposely ignorant. Like he doesn't get it. He doesn't seem to get it, and I think that's been like his. I think, or he doesn't care.
I actually think he does get it.
Yeah, like
It's just that
part of his base is like literal white supremacy.
Yeah,
He's like chill with it.
That's what. Yeah, I don't think he really cares. I think he.
No, it's not. He does care. Like there's a
Oh.
reason. He's appealing. Like before, usually
What I mean.
Republicans would like the white supremacist part of the base would be like the like they would accept it. They want their votes, but they would like euphemize. They would have
Right.
dog whistles, and then Donald Trump comes in and he. Like there's no more dog whistles, there's no more euphemisms. He's appealing to this part of the base. The
Right.
moderate Republican base is now the other.
I'm just going to go back to Borat and watching that over again, and a lot of these people at the Trump rallies and stuff, like they're like crazy people, and they're out here saying these crazy things. I think a lot of Trump supporters do appeal to that alt-right, white supremacy type stuff, like an unbelievably high amount of it, and I wonder if it's that America was always like this, and Trump's just bringing this out, and people are making like mainstream, making it like not as controversial as it is. If that makes any sense, like it's more accepted now somehow that acting the way that Trump is like more accepted.
Yeah, Trump shifted.
I think also, and we even watched that within the movie, like The Social Dilemma. I think a lot of it has to do with the internet, because now you have Trump supporters that can click onto, the second they Google something, they read news sources that will consistently tell them that they are right. Whereas the other side, like Biden supporters, will go onto news sites and consistently tell them that they're right, which is causing such a big divide. And it becomes almost radical.
Right.
So you have like Trump supporters and extreme bias. And because of that extreme bias, you have a bunch of people that are extremely arrogant and are not open to anything except them being right. And I think that's why a lot of this has gone so far and become so crazy. And I know I was talking to a few people, and they were saying after the election, what's their biggest fear if Trump doesn't win or if Biden doesn't win? And they were, at this point, he said, I wouldn't be surprised if something as little as something similar to a civil war broke out because there's no middle ground in America anymore.
Yeah.
That's like a highly reductionist take, bro. Like, are you really saying Biden supporters are radical?
They're not
No.
radical.
I was talking about, hold on. I was talking about Trump supporters.
No, but
But I think whether you go to each side, I think there are radicalists on any political stand, whatever political.
I'm radical left. Biden's awful.
I'm like, it's not about if you support Biden, you're a radicalist, or if you support Trump. Well, actually, it's about whatever political belief you have. If you become a bigot of those, like you can't. Too much of something is never good.
Yeah, being too not racist is so bad.
But it's not about that. And I want to make it very clear that because it shouldn't have gotten to that. But I'm most definitely not a Trump supporter. But I'm saying if someone is too far, anything is bad. If you look on the political spectrum, the ends of it are quite scary.
I still don't see what's so scary about the far left. I've never actually got it.
Okay. Yeah.
If anybody actually wants to give me like a literal response to that.
I mean, I think Sarah's right because if you look at it right now in America, the only thing people are doing is just like calling each other ignorant and no, you're right, I'm wrong. I think no one wants to be called wrong, right? So I'm just saying that even though Trump supporters are wrong, if you just call them straight up dumb and fools, like that's not gonna be able to change anybody's mind. So I think if people decided to be a little more nicer to each other, maybe.
I'm just going to bring up that America is again on stolen land, and like a lot of the things that's in America are stolen. So like the whole thing about a lot of the left is that this is bad, capitalism bad, which looking at America right now isn't a very invalid statement. You look at how many homeless people there are, how many people who aren't able to feed their families. I'm doing a project on for my essay, my CPT. I'm doing on gun violence in America, and one of the things I'm doing is on. I'm making a lot about how capitalism, the government has kind of failed a lot of the people. I look at Detroit. 50% of children in Detroit are poor. They are raised in poor families. 50% of children are poor. Actually, over 50%. That's not okay. And if you look at both Biden and Trump, they're both very pro-capitalism. So how does this help them?
Yeah, every DNC nominee is going to be pro-capitalism.
Right.
They exist under this neoliberal system, so they're going to be neoliberal. It just depends on, how far gone are they?
Neither of them are really left. They're both right wing.
Nobody's left. Even Bernie, he was a soft dem. He wanted to reform neoliberal capitalism with socialist policies, but not he's a soft dem. He's a socialist Democrat. He still believes in what America was founded on.
Right.
His foreign policy is so bad.
I think that again, like I was saying, I don't think I've ever gotten a response to why the left is really bad and the right is.
No, it's because people see, the left is violent sometimes, and the right is violent sometimes.
Which
that means ideologically they're the same.
But but it's not. But that is exactly the point. Is if you are so entrenched that you become violent against each other,
rights is not the same.
War breaks out. That's the basis of a civil war. Two sides that can't agree, and it's not about whether you agree with one side or the other. I'm not saying
if you imply that ideologically they are the same, which they are not.
But
but if I'm communist,
what makes me? I'm saying, as a human, that if I see a Trump supporter, I don't have to agree with their stance. And frankly, I don't. I think it's so beyond wrong, and they're supporting one of the worst men I've ever seen. But that doesn't mean I can hit them. You don't.
This is great.
What's great?
That you're like, we're all human and no hitting each other. Even
But
though that is literally
civilization in that point.
Listen, I've had enough people online who would probably beat me if they're up to me, that they would beat me for my beliefs. Like
oh yeah, how many
yeah,
fascist manifesto?
I've
political
threatened me. I've gotten a lot of threats. I've gotten death threats this year, so
that's wrong.
Yeah, but
that's
like
where you lose. Oh my, when you have a civilization that can't say, I disagree with your belief, I actually frankly hate it, but I'm not gonna hit you, and I've seen people completely go out and fight.
What believes is non-whites are subhuman. Like what do you do then? I politely disagree.
That's Trump's stance on transgender.
But that doesn't, okay, you can disagree or agree, but at this point in time, America, unfortunately, is pretty much almost half Trump, like, if not half Trump supporter. You aren't gonna fight 50% of America and literally physically hurt them. That will cause a civil war. And whether you want to, because frankly, I think a lot of people would want to hit a Trump supporter, but you just can't. You have to find another way to beat them off of their political stance. And that comes by winning the election. That comes by using as many media sources to explain a message. It doesn't need to be violent.
Trust me.
I mean, believe it or not, people can change. Like, people change pretty easily. Like, they're influenced so fast. You can't just.
I mean, take
But
a
it's not, okay, Panthea, it's not judging. I'm saying you won't further your stance. You won't make an actual change if you resort to violence. You not today. All you're gonna do is lose your argument. Because if you're trying to genuinely change something, and you, instead of using other outlets, instead of speaking out, instead of trying to reform legislation, you're hitting people, your argument isn't getting passed.
Well, no matter if Biden or Trump wins, I know a lot of people who are negatively affected. I was seeing like the transgender people, they lose either way. No matter what happens, there's supporters on both sides who are very anti them, who do want to beat them, who do want to rape them, etc. It's a lose situation for them. Biden's not doing much to help them. Kamala Harris put trans women in men's prisons. They're not being helped. There's a large portion of America not being helped.
I completely agree with that. But I'm saying resorting to violence is not the best way.
Never a good way. Let's move on.
I mean, the thing is, America's built on fighting.
That is true. Like, their entire foreign policy is essentially to go and attack every other country. Like, I don't know if people remember my presentation about El Salvador yesterday. It was the U.S. who was funding most of the war and, like, leading to massacres and stuff. And that's just in El Salvador. Like, pretty much the entirety of South America, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, the U.S. has done pretty much the exact same thing every time.
Okay, come back to this in a more, how should I say? We'll come back to this in a more, whoa. You didn't turn it off.
I turned it off.
No, you didn't. My voice is still going through yours.
Isn't this off for you? No, mute.
There.
Okay.
All right. In a more organized fashion. Thank you, Tyler. This is the problem with politics. That's why they say don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner table. Okay. Thank you. Who wins? Doesn't matter who wins. The rich win. All right.
Is anybody supposed to go tonight?
Yeah. Aren't we? There's so that was up till yesterday, right?
Well, mine was supposed to be on Monday.
Yeah, okay, sure. But I mean, like, we're up to date until today, except for Kylie and Edward, right? So we're not up to date. Kylie, you want to go?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Guys, can you use my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
So today I'm going to talk about the country profile of Korea. Korea is a region in East Asia, and since 1945, it has been divided into two several states. That is North Korea and South Korea. And North Korea is also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and the South Korea is officially the Republic of Korea. And today, I will focus on Korea and the world will of South Korea. And here's the timeline of South Korea. In 1945, after World War II, Japanese occupation ends with Soviet troops occupying areas in the north and U.S. troops in the south. And in 1953, an armistice is reached and ending the Korean War, which had cost 2 million lives. And in 2008, the South Korean government announced a $130 billion package aimed at stabilizing market during the global financial crisis. So, what nations or groups of people have impacted this country? So, in history, many countries have influenced Korea's politics, economy, and cultures, such as the United States, Russia, China, Japan, and so on. So, to be more specific, I want to talk about two main influences. And the first one is about culture. Korea is greatly influenced by the Chinese and Japanese cultures. So this influence can be seen by Confucianism, which established by many traditions that can be seen in modern Korea today. And these traditions include the ethical code of conduct in social life, and it is showing the respect to the elders and the family. And also, the United States has great influences on South Korea's economy. The United States was the ROK's second largest source of foreign direct investment. So major U.S. firms have long been leading investors. Into 1961, South Korea received a $3,100 million donation from the United States. So, who are its former rulers and colonial powers? From 1910 to 1945, the Empire of Japan. In 1910, Korea was annexed by the Empire of Japan after years of the war and intimidation and political machinations. The country would be considered a part of Japan until 1945. In order to establish the control over its new protectorate, the Empire of Japan waged an all-out war on Korean culture. And during this period, schools and universities forbade speaking Korean, and also it emphasized the manual labor and loyalty to the imperial And it also have became the crime to teach history from non-approved texts, and authorities burned over 200,000 Korean historical documents. And it essentially wiped out the historical memory of Korea. And when is it golden age? So its golden age is King Sejong, like, wait, yeah, its golden age is King Sejong, in his region, which lasted until 1450, was a period of great cultural and intellectual accomplishment in Korea that is often called the Golden Age. As an administrator, he introduced many progressive ideas in the implemented reforms to improve the life of the common people. In times of drought and flood, he just established relief programs and opened centers to provide food and some shelters. And for farmers experiencing unsuccessful harvest, he just reinstated a loan system. He has made some great efforts to the development of Korea's culture and economy. The historical boundaries. Wait. Okay, the achievement of independence. There are some movements and also like some demonstrations by fighters for independence, but they're suppressed by Japanese. And in the final stage of World War II, the US just dropped 2 automatic bombs in Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This incident succeeded in getting the Japanese to surrender and sign the Potsdam Declaration, guaranteeing the freedom of Korea from colonization. And the Korean was finally liberated on August 15, 1945. Just 3 years later, on the same day, an independent Korea government was established. The historical boundaries. The demilitarized zone and the military demarcation line. The military demarcation line, MDL, sometimes referred to as the armistice line, is the line border or democratic line between North Korea and South Korea. And on either side of the line is the Korean demilitarized zone, and both of them were established by the armistice. Significant military political event, which is a democracy movement. It is called the Seoul Spring. So Seoul Spring is a democratization movement named after the South Korean capital Seoul. On October 26, 1979, the assassination of South Korean President Park Geun-hye ended his dictatorship. It is expected that this will soon resume the democratization movement in Korea, and the anti-systemists were able to restore their freedom. And on May 17, 1980, Chun Dong-hwan announced an emergency martial law, and the Seoul Spring ended. On the World War of South Korea. So for the World War part, I'll focus on the South Korea. So the human rights is seen as the most important war problem, and Korea has made great efforts to solve this problem on the international stage. So the Republic of Korea (ROK), which has made remarkable improvements within the area of democracy and human rights in a short period of time, upholds the universal value of human rights as a centerpiece of its foreign policy goals. And furthermore, Korea has actively participated in the activity of the UN Human Rights Council and the Third Committee of the UN General Assembly, working closely with the international community for the protection and the promotion of human rights around the world. and its traditional allies and enemies. Its traditional allies, as for South Korea, the United States and South Korea are allies under the 1953 Mutual Defense Treaty. And under this agreement, U.S. military personnel have maintained a continuous presence in South Korea. And its traditional enemies is North Korea, because South Korea first called North Korea its main enemy in 1995, a year after North Korea threatened to turn Seoul into Sea of Fire, a term that the North has since repeatedly used when the confrontations flirt with the South. The role in world affairs. South Korea sees itself as an indispensable role in the world affairs, especially in some global trade. And as part of its effort to become a global Korea, the Republic of Korea is undertaking efforts to contribute responsibly to the international community. And it plays a vital role in global trade, much like China and Japan. And 9 of the world's 10 most used container ports are in Asia, with the port city of Busan, South Korea ranking number 5 on the Forbes top 10 world container port list. And as we can see, South Korea is very important to the global economy, since much of the world's trade in transported to and from Asia, trade packages could impact companies that depend on some imports. And this is my last part of my presentation, is like the reputation in the world. So compared to a long time ago, South Korea now has a better reputation in the world. Koreans have the global reputation for K-pop, K-beauty, K-food, K-culture, and so on. But however, different countries and people have various opinions about South Korea, and some say that the good reputation for their skincare products, K-pop, electronics, etc. And others say the Korean bureaucracy is bloated, bold, and inefficient. Korean unions often engaged in violent strikes over issues that would be resolved peacefully in most neighboring nations. And that's my presentation. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
very much. Anyone have anything to say? I'm not a fan of K-pop, but I'm a fan of K-food. I didn't even know that was a term, K-food. Korean food. Who says K-food? Is that something that people say? No? I like kimchi a lot. I had some yesterday for lunch. Except kimchi is debated on where it comes from. Well, if you ask some Japanese people, they'll say it's Japanese. And if you ask, if it comes, well, yes. Who can we ever believe about anything, eh? All right, Edward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so you can see, right?
Yep.
Okay, so my presentation is about universal basic income. So what is universal basic income, aka UBI? Universal basic income is a form of income given to everyone. It's most commonly known as its like a smaller form as minimum basic income. So minimal basic income's job is to bring people under the poverty line to go like above the line or just right on it. So like for the U.S. it's $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year in the U.S. So arguments against UBI. UBI would remove incentive to work because like you're just getting free money. So like what's the point of work? Which like I disagree. UBI is too good to be true because the cost of UBI is $2.4 trillion, or some estimates might even go up. UBI will just cause inflation because if everyone just gets $1,000, market prices might just go up, and UBI will worsen inequality, which is I don't know about that one. UBI will make people reliant on the country because the country will just keep giving everyone money. So like, what's the point of work? And all this comes from Fox News. So arguments for UBI, it's future proof because of all like the economy, like it's all going automated, so it'll help people find new jobs when they lose their jobs, like store jobs, like cashiers and stuff. It's a no strings attached money, like you don't have to like try to find work like in most welfare things, because like welfare makes you like find jobs, and if you get one, you have to like take that job. So like you could do anything with the money from the $1,000 a month, and it'll raise people above the poverty line. This comes from the New York Times and the Guardian. So facts about UBI. In 2013, a study in the World Bank examined poor people's spending habits when given free money. The poor people wouldn't spend their money on drugs and alcohol. It's more of a stereotype of poor people. The study actually found the opposite, that rich people would consume more drugs and alcohol. So a study in 1970, Canada did a test on UBI. Less than 1% of people left their jobs, and on average, people reduced their work by less than 10%. The time they reduced used to like achieve goals, like going back to school or looking for better jobs. So I have some videos. So this one is for UBI. It's about it's a debate. So change my thing real quick. Mhm. You guys can see, right?
Yeah.
Yang, your signature
And you can
policy
hear.
is to give every adult in the United States $1,000 a month, no questions asked.
That's right.
I think that's like $3.2 trillion a year. How would you do that?
Sorry?
How would you do that?
Oh, so it's difficult to do if you have companies like Amazon, trillion-dollar tech companies paying literally zero in taxes while they're closing 30% of our stores. Now, we need to put the American people in position to benefit from all these innovations in other parts of the economy. And if we had a value-added tax at even half the European level, it would generate over $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with the money in our hands, it would be the trickle-up economy from our people, families, and communities up. We would spend the money and it would circulate through our regional economies and neighborhoods, creating millions of jobs, making our families stronger and healthier. We'd save money on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care, and just the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, mentally healthier population would increase GDP by $700 billion. This is the move that we have to make, particularly as technology is now automating away millions of American jobs. It's why Donald Trump is our president today, that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And we're about to do the same thing to millions of retail jobs, call center jobs, fast food jobs, truck driving jobs, and on through the economy.
Mr. Yang, if I get you understand a little bit better, so you're saying $1,000 a month for everyone over 18, but a value-added tax, so you can spend that $1,000 on value-added tax?
Well, the value-added tax would end up, you'd still be increasing the buying power of the bottom 94% of Americans. You have to spend a lot of money for a mild value-added tax to eat up $12,000 a year per individual. So for the average family with 2 or 3 adults, it'd be $24,000 to $36,000 a year.
Okay.
So I have another video on against UBI. It talks about like yeah, just like against UBI.
For a long time, I was a fan of universal basic income. And the logic I had was that, I always hear politicians talking about, let's create jobs for people. That's what we need is jobs, more jobs, and as if that's what's going to solve the economic problem. So the government is supposed to lend money to a bank who can then lend money to a corporation who will then build a factory in order for people to have jobs. Do we really need more jobs? In California, they're tearing down houses as we speak because the houses are in foreclosure and they want to keep market values high. The U.S. Department of Agriculture burns food every week in order to keep the prices of that food high, even though there's people who are starving and people who need homes. We can't just let people have those homes. Why? Because they don't have jobs. So now we're supposed to create jobs for people to make useless stuff for other people to buy, and plastic crap that we're going to throw away or stick in storage units or end up in landfill, just so those people can have jobs so that we can justify letting them participate in the abundance. And that's kind of ass backwards. So I thought, well, shoot, rather than creating useless jobs, what if we just let people have the stuff that's in abundance? Just let people have the houses. What's the problem with this? And UBI kind of goes along that lines of, well, if we have more than enough stuff, if we don't need everybody working all the time, then why don't we just let people have income, or at least go to a 4-day work week, or a 3-day work week, or a 2-day work week? Or if work is the thing that's scarce, then why don't we meet that out and say, okay, we've got these 10 days that you're allowed to work this year, so come on to the farm and do that work, and then you'll have to find something else for you to do the rest of the time. But in reality, it's not like that. If we were really that efficient, then we wouldn't be destroying the planet with pollution. What we've done is found ways of making stuff and doing things that require very little labor, but externalize a host of other problems to a whole lot of other places. So, we could 3D print or something, but the 3D print, where do you get the plastic goop for your 3D printer? What mine in Africa is it coming out of, and what topsoil is it destroying? When we're going to run out of topsoil in 60 years, it means that we're not actually using the appropriate labor-intensive permaculture solutions in agriculture and all that. So first off, that whole idea that we're moving towards lower employment is a myth. We've faked lower employment through extremely extractive, exploitative, polluting, and unsustainable business practices. And second, I was giving a talk at Uber, and I was talking to them about the problems with their business model and how they're putting all these drivers out of work, and here they are, these freelancers working for the company, basically training the algorithms that will be replacing them, without any profit participation in the end game company. And one of the guys got up and basically quoted back to me a passage from my own book, Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus, where he said, well, what about universal basic income? And when I heard it coming out of their mouths, I realized, oh, so universal basic income isn't just a way to help people have the money they need to survive and have time to innovate and come up with other solutions. It's becoming an excuse for companies like Uber to not pay a living wage to their workers. So what's the idea? Oh, we'll get the government to print more money to give it to workers for them to spend with us. So what really happens? What is universal basic income? It's just a way of perpetuating our roles as consumers at the bottom of the pyramid, not as owners. If we're going to go to anything, I would say, what about universal basic assets? What about actual participation? What if the workers owned the means of production? So you don't just give them a handout so that the money ends up in the same corporate coffers and going into the same shares. That's not the point. What universal basic income does, if you look at the whole model, is allows the people who own the lion's share of our world to own more and more of it. We just print more money and more of it goes up to the top. That's not the way to get long-term equity. Sure, Social Security, welfare, the dole, all those things are fine for those in need, but it's not a great long-term economic strategy. It's really just a band-aid on extractive corporate capitalism. How do we get to extract more? We'll just print more.
So the question I'm gonna ask on to all of you is, do you think UBI is a good idea?
Like the guy in the video said, it's a band-aid solution for a wider systemic problem.
Sure. Sure. Did you hear Sabrina, everybody?
Not really.
She said it's a band-aid solution, just like the guy said, to a wider systemic problem. I think it's not as much as do you think UBI is a good idea or not. I think it's about looking at the bigger system, the bigger, culture in which we live, and seeing the different factors, right? People tend to focus on a new or best idea that becomes popular without, finally, people like this guy in the video are saying, well, there's much more to it than that, right? Because, it's the system in which we live, not the how to survive in the system. We have to look at the whole system, right? Anyone?
But sir, don't a lot of countries have basic income, like especially in Europe, and they've seen positive results of it? I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I'm just saying, like, a lot of countries have basic income and they've had positive results from it. So.
Oh yeah. How about no country in the world has UBI?
No, I'm just saying, like,
only two countries in the world, Mongolia and Iran, had UBI for a short period of time. There are other places in the world that have tested it in very small regions, but that's it. Because
the sample size is too small.
And the sample size is too small, but it doesn't incorporate the factors that exist in terms of the large sheer size of certain companies and products and things like that, right? Let's take a break. 10